Hello everybody, we have another game with the white pieces against Hussein 1323. He's rated 614, so we're going to expect lots of moves that do not apply to what we're trying to do, which is center, development, king, safety. So we take the center with e4, black goes g6. This is not center, but it is development. However, if he had played e5, that would have been center and development in one move. Okay, but it's our turn. He doesn't take the center, we're going to take the center. We put two pawns attacking his side of the board. He fianchettos. This is development. It puts pressure down the long diagonal. That's fine. We're going to develop a minor piece and attack the center. Follows our principles. Black goes d5. This prepares development and attacks the center. It's a fine move. The one thing I would say is if we take and he takes with the queen, now we can develop our knight. He has to move his queen again, and then we have another developing move. It'll be 3-1. That'll be nice. Could also push, which hampers his knight's development and his bishop. He'll hit us with c5. We'll go c3. We could play that type of structure, but I'm going to try to keep the game open. Very more dynamic, more tactical, more fluid development with the pieces. Okay, he doesn't take back to give me that tempo. Instead, he develops a knight. This develops a piece and attacks the center. Good move. Drawback, I can now defend this pawn, but I don't have to do it with the knight. I'm going to do it with a pawn. Now I move this pawn. This helps development, but more importantly, it's center. The d5 square is a central square, one of the four. This move supports it, saying, well, you didn't take it back. Now you can't take it with the knight because it's a pawn defender. You have to now attack it from the front with e6 or c6. And he may not know that. And if he doesn't attack it, this is just a dominating, overwhelming chunk of center. And okay, he just casually castles. And it looks like black has done nothing wrong. But what he did is wrong is he gave me a giant, strong center. So we're going to continue with development because this doesn't threaten anything. And we have a beautiful center, so let's just follow principles. We'll develop our knight to the square we know we want it. It attacks the center. Very simple. Okay, he does attack our pawn chain from the front with c6. This attacks our pawn. If we take, he could develop. If we let him take, I mean, we're up a pawn. I don't want to help his development. I don't want to speed it up and bring his pieces out towards the center. I'm going to ignore everything he's doing. He just wasted a turn. I'm going to use that turn to bring out my army to overwhelm him. So let's start on that. The most reasonable logical move looks like knight to f3. It develops a piece, so development towards the center, and prepares king safety. And our position looks gorgeous. So black takes the pawn. Now notice he's just taking his pawn back, right? He's not up a pawn. So I don't have to jump and take the pawn like I'm down a pawn, which I'm not. So what does this threaten? A trade of pawns, right? Because it's defended. If we take with the knight, he'll just trade and improve his position. If I take with the pawn, I get the same thing. He'll trade and improve his position. So once again, I'm going to ignore it, right? He's the one wasting time with all these pawns moves, and I'm not developing. I'm going to use those turns to develop. Okay, so I want to develop the bishop. He'll probably just take my pawn, and then I have to move the bishop a second time. So I don't want to move it a second time. So is there another useful developing move? I think rook c1 is where I want the rook anyway. so it's development. And now if he takes, I get to recapture in 1 turn. So we can delay it a little, see what he does, while we bring out our army, right? Boom. And if he takes, we'll then have an open C file and an open C file. So he just develops towards the center. Very good chess from the 600. Very impressed by Hussein. Okay, our turn. He's not threatening anything. What shall we do? I'm gonna wait 1 more turn before developing my bishop, and that's because I don't want to give his pieces, let's say, a good square, and at the same time I want so basically I want to hinder his development and create luft for my king, for king safety. I'm gonna throw in this move h3. It's center in the sense that if I just develop my bishop and he pins me, this knight controls the center, right? So his move bishop g4 affects the center. So by denying that move, I'm trying to control the center in that way. Also, I'm taking away this square from the knight, which definitely wants the 100-hour bishop. And I'm waiting another turn before I recapture. And then I'm ready to castle, and I have luft. So I think it's a good move. Let's say I just went bishop e2, and he, hunts my bishop. Now I have to move it. Not the end of the world, but still, this is just a useful move that basically hinders his development. And so development is a word, but the meaning of it is not just bring my pieces out. It's the relationship between your development and your opponent's. You don't need your whole army out. If you have 3 pieces out and your opponent has 0, that's a huge lead in development. So if you stifle your opponent's army, that also counts towards your development ratio lead. But you don't want to make moves like this for no reason, h3. You want to be very careful when you do it. You want to do it for a very specific reason. If someone says, why did you do that? You need to be able to tell them in words, like I'm doing, exactly why. Oh, because this pin would undefend these 2 squares because my knight can't protect them. This hunts my bishop. I didn't think bishop f4 is a good square, blah, blah, blah. Even if you're wrong, that's fine. But you have to be able to say it out loud. If you can't, and you're just like, oh, I don't know, then what are you doing? And that applies to any move you make, not just the weird ones on the side. Okay, so this guy goes rook e8. It's development in the sense he's trying to, I guess, prepare e5. Because takes, and it's covered enough times. And this guy's not playing like a 600. He's playing very well. Very nice to see. I don't believe it, but still nice to see. Now I'm just going to go for the bishop e2 move that I've been delaying for a few turns, which is just development. It's just a development move to prepare king safety. That's all it is. Another concept I haven't really talked about is prophylaxis. So h3 is a lot of also prophylaxis. Anyway, he doesn't go e5. He goes e6. Very weird. E5 looks like, the move you want to make. But whatever, e6. Doesn't threaten anything. It does support the center. So now we just want to castle. Now our king is in king safety. And we have a stronger center than he does. And our position looks wonderful. Now black's position is way more solid than it should be. But that's okay. This is, what you're looking for as white. You can see the harmony between like my entire position. Whereas black's, his bishop and rook are kind of in weird spots, which would have been fixed if he had just gone e5. I still don't know why he didn't do that. I guess because he would have hung the d5 pawn at the end. Something like I get a pawn, he gets a pawn. I get a pawn, he gets a pawn, I get a knight. But now my queens open up, so maybe that's why he didn't want to do it, but maybe you sack a pawn in that position. My opponent offers a draw. No. Why would I give him a draw? What's wrong with these people? You just wasted 10 minutes of my life. Don't draw me. Resign. Resign, fool. What, did your engine stop working? Is that why you want to draw? Did the trial version run out? They want your credit card number? It's alright. You could play for yourself a couple moves. Come on, Hussein. I believe in you. I believe that you will blunder. But yeah, this is like a... Just visually, look at this position. It looks so nice. I'm playing on these files. The E file is semi-open, but I have bishops there, so... As of now, the rook's not going to do much there. If anything, you're going to put a knight in here. In the future, maybe if this guy ever moves. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. We get the resignation. Nice. Plus 12. Okay, I'm going to go through the game and show you the simplicity of this method. Under 1,000, you guys can jump 100 ELO points like this if you just do this. Center, right? Center, seizing the center. Development. This is just it concerns the center because you obviously can't ignore his threat. So anytime there's a forcing move on the board, you know, you're in check, they're hitting your queen, whatever it is, you obviously can't just develop a piece. You have to address the forcing move and then continue back with the principles. But that I shouldn't have to say that. If something's hanging, you can't just leave it hanging, right? Okay, so my pawn is hanging. So you could defend it with a pawn, let's say. I mean, with a knight. Then he starts going into c5, weird French stuff, and now your knight's here. Much better to just have an open position. You don't play into your opponents. You know, they like those positions. They like locking the center and going for a c5 French. I mean, maybe not at this rating, but you'll encounter that. And when you just open the position and use principles, you're going to beat them because they're not going to make as good moves as you. So anyway, center, development, development, development. This is prophylaxis, but that's not one of the things. However, I'm not gonna not do it because that's like a more advanced concept, and we're not at speedrun number 3 or 4 or whatever where I would include that. I'm obviously going to include moves I think are good if they stop opponents' threats. That's prophylaxis. So I do think h3 is a very useful move. I'm trying to explain it a lot so you can understand why I'm not making a move like this that affects the center and development. Strictly because it gives my opponents similar options for his development. Like for him to develop and affect the center in ways that I don't want him to. So I could develop and affect the center, but that lets him do it in a way that I don't want him to, and I think is bad for me. Not bad for him, but annoying for me. So I'm going to stop it. So he can't do it, I can't do it. Prophylaxis. Fine. One move of prophylaxis, not a big deal. Also making lift for the king, kind of obvious too. All right, development, king safety, end of game. That's simple. And again, I don't know what's up with these opponents, but no 600, no legitimate 600 plays this solid, this disciplined without taking this whole time. And they blunder much more than this. They would have been down more pawns and stuff. And I mean, white's still better, but I know how people play at different ratings. I had to climb through the ratings myself. This is ridiculous, but in any case, I get to show it from my side, the principles and so forth. Um, so we get a little short video, another quick example of how this stuff works at these low ratings. Hopefully we'll face some legit ones in the next video. Good luck. Goodbye.